Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Monday. Almost got a little mixed up because of Sunday yesterday, coming on Sunday. But yes, it's Monday, October 14th, 2024. Here we are at the beginning of another powerful week. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend and you're already having a great week so far. Yeah, I don't know. I do know. There's something that I wanted to say. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add on to it at the beginning of this video or if I was going to just do kind of like an afterward message or just expound on it in some other way in some other video. But yesterday, the message was pretty powerful, and when I watched back, as I've said before, a lot of times I get a whole nother layer of information when I watch it. And a lot of the beginning of the message was shaping out around almost like an individual that may have been mishandled or mismanaged by a lover or someone they thought that they could trust, that they ended up being betrayed by. And I feel like all of that still stands for sure. Like, as specific as it kind of was, it can also be very general as well too, speaking to just the consequences of poor choices, and generally the idea about recreating, recycling karmic lessons that you are failing to, kind of learn and gain wisdom from from the cycle before. So all of that still stands. But when I was really looking at that Queen of Cups, if you go back to the message, she came out early in the first 5 cards, and I was kind of baffled at her presence in the midst of what was a lot of lower vibrational energy, to say the least. And I was saying, like, I don't really understand why she's here. And what I recognized is that the Queen of Cups is representing what has ultimately been like the silent assassin of this evolutionary transition that creation has undergone individually and collectively. What wasn't anticipated, with all the pressure and all of the adversity and all of the interference and illusions and even delusions, was for love to prevail over all. And that's the energy that the Queen of Cups embodies. And I could go much deeper on that because it is deeper than just that, but I don't want to drag it at the beginning of this message. But I just feel like I needed to say that because I was veering much more on that energy being almost like a secret agent or even like a secret op to some degree. And it is. That's the thing. It is, but not exclusively the way that it was shaping out for at least that particular being or representative of that being, and the King of Pentacles, who just seemed to be, err on the side of carnal fixation, and low, and on the lower frequency of his his material being, so to speak. It is a secret agent. It was the sleeper agent. It was the secret assassin, because what hasn't always been able to prevail above all is love. It's always been present, but in many different timelines and lifetimes before now, it's hell, you can look around and almost feel like the same is true today. It's been outnumbered, definitely oversaturated by the adverse energies, at least in an illusional way, where it almost seems like there's a grave imbalance. But yeah, that love piece was the sleeper agent, and that's those that embody that highest frequency of love, and also a mastery and control over their emotional power as well, and also tapped in and tuned in to their intuitive abilities. All of that wrapped up into the love frequency is what has ultimately been like the surprise for all, because as I said throughout the message, there wasn't a guarantee that humanity could evolve within this time frame to the frequency that would be required for spirit and well, divine and human co-creativity, to evolve and ascend to a next level. But because of that love that was incubated again in those individuals, the faithful few, as I referred to them, that persevered through all the trials and tribulations to still hold fast to that core essence of themselves, not to be swayed to to anger or bitterness or unforgiveness, at least not for too long. Of course, we are prone to dip and dab into those emotions, but fear itself, insecurity, instability, codependency, or just dependency overall, addiction, scarcity, poverty, like the more healing that was pursued on account of each unfavorable encounter, or the more trauma and karmic chaos pretty much was cleared through that frequency of love, is the more possible it became to ascend higher and higher and to evolve creation further and further to where we are now, where it's really, I can't say that we have all arrived per se, but it's definitely looking much brighter of a possibility, of endless possibilities for the whole of creation to not only survive and sustain, but even thrive at this point. And like I said, that love piece was the surprise element. And it did kind of act almost like a sneak attack or a sleeper agent or a silent assassin, because in past lifetimes, it's always been extinguished, more than it's been exalted eventually. But this is the time when the scales are actually really leveling out in a way that sooner or later, and I hope to be here to see it, that love vibration is going to be more heavily weighted, and maybe even the prominent expression of creativity and reality above all else, So if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have the moment of hope and faith that the moment of what do you call it, of sheer optimism and hopefulness that we all have now. Whether you look around and it seems like that, it is so, because we're all still here. At this point, we're all still here. So that means there's always an opportunity to have the most ideal outcome in alignment with what spirit would ultimately desire for its creation to have anyway, what source would desire for creation to have anyway. But yeah, I wanted to say that because I felt like the Queen of Cups, from how I spoke of her, got kind of like was kind of spotlighted in a dark way. And not to say that it isn't true, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't resonate in a real way, but it's something even more positive and prosperous than that, and hats off to all those that continue to embody the frequency of love, because that's what's making all the difference even right now, So anyway, just had to get that off my chest. And I don't feel like I really tapped into it the way I would like to, because I don't want to drag it. So I may come back if I feel guided, maybe on Sunday or something. We'll see, but let's see what we got today. Wow, the Ace of Cups. Oh, man. Well, there's that frequency of love that I felt guided to speak on. That's the secret sauce. Haters want to know what it is. Ops want to know what it is. It's just love. That's all it is. I mean, not like that's all it is, ALL, but more AWL. I'm sorry, AWE. AWE. It's astounding. It's magnificent. It's inspiring. It's amazing. That's all it is love. That's dope. Wow. And here's death. What's transforming here? Ooh. Gotta keep love in the middle. Wow. Ooh. This is like the resurrection of creation here. This is exactly what I was kind of touching on yesterday, what I was talking about, where it almost seemed doomed, for humanity particular. Now, I changed the thumbnail to say humanity instead of creation. Originally, I can't think of what I said. I said time was of the essence for, originally I said for creation to evolve, and I changed it back to humanity, for humanity to evolve. Because creation, we are the only aspect of creation that has a will. Here it is with the Chariot. To do anything outside of the will of the divine, So whatever the rest of creation more or less is willed to do is as good as submitted. But it's we humans or spiritual beings in expressing, spiritual beings in human vessels at least, that have all the will and the choice and the decision in the world. And that's what makes all the difference as to how the divine is able to co-create through our vessels as we are conduits of this surge of energy, this force fuel here. If it's an unlimited source, but if you're not open as a conduit to express it, it has nowhere to flow in the realm. Not really and truly, not in the way that is most intentional, and I would say even more impactful and impressionable than beings that kind of operate in in like a submission to the divine without will. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to do whatever it is that they're, programmed or designed to do, so to speak. With us, there's more of an impact when you have a choice to do something contrary, but you actually decide not to. and you are literally committed to a covenant of creativity between the divine and your humanity, you know, where there is an agreement, an alliance, an understanding, you know, a respect, a mutual, a reciprocity, even to some degree. I feel like that's the thing that we've been missing, you know, through interferences, intention to throw us off from the significance of our presence to the divine as an expression of the divine, where we've been conditioned to kind of forfeit that relevance, to be more subservient to it than we are co-creative with it. And so therefore we've, you know, over time learned to act out of that depreciated worthiness, and, you know, hence the evidence of the frequency of the world today, you know, even still. But now we're on the up and up as more are reaffirming that frequency in its purest form, almost having a rebirth or a regeneration of identity here, almost like a baptism, or again, like a resurrection from what was dead, what was distorted, you know, what was not prosperous, you know, to say the least, into something that is quite the opposite. You know what I mean? This is the chariot, which is like strong, empowered will to succeed, and drive of determination no matter what, you know. And a lot of that has been groomed on account of the trials and tribulations that have been faced and overcome, you know, over past seasons, maybe perhaps even past lives, as I talked about before. But it's something about it there being a sustainable closure that is being established now, where the way that this chariot is moving forward can never go backwards into the dark ages, when, you know, that connection between spirit and flesh was severed, or at least greatly distorted. We're moving forward into something that is altogether new for most of us, you know, but is so empowered by now our sheer will. You know, it could have never been imposed, you know, like, because of the rules of engagement in the three-dimensional realm. It would still always need to be accepted and be a consideration of agreement with even the divine ordinance itself being passed from a spiritual proclamation into a physical one. Like I said, you could have all the divine essence in the world, literally an unlimited supply and source, but if you have no one that can really embody that frequency successfully, you know, that can really sustain this surge of energy and power without faltering to ego or control, dominance, tyranny, you know, all the things that, you know, men in power have and less have fallen for. You know, imagine a divine surge of power that is unlimited and unstoppable, there needed to be a cultivation of character, like almost a purging and cleansing of the human being to conduct, not just to be conducive to, but also to conduct, because once it's released, now you're responsible for how it's disseminated, to now conduct this energy in a way that is still honorable to the integrity of the divine source that it originates from. Meaning you're powered up, but you don't get powered up and then go wreak havoc on creation. Like you are powered up to now drive the divine agenda that much further. Now you have the resources, you have the time, you have the energy, you have the capital, you have an unlimited wealth of knowledge, ideas, experiences, support, literally everything that you could possibly, an overflow here, everything that you could possibly desire to have at your expense, or I guess I don't want to say disposal because it feels dismissive or something, but like at your, let's just say at your fingertips, literally, because this is a spiritual force that now is becoming very tangible and very flesh conducted, not just the ideal of the divine, but literally the physical expression of it, of which you may be in alignment to conduct, particularly if you were one that allowed yourself to be transformed into more of, as I said in the beginning, a love-driven being, no matter what the circumstance, because again, there was a great resistance to evolving in that essence where everything that you could think of was being thrown at you and against you to try to provoke you to do something contrary, to be the opposite of love, the opposite of peace, the opposite of understanding, and humble, and graceful, and kind, and generous, and forgiving, and all those things, even, in the physical sense or in the practical sense, the opposite of prosperous or productive, being bombarded with poverty and struggle and strife and, just literally everything that your vessel could withstand is what you may have been hit with yet still to sustain yourself in the frequency of love at the highest vibration you could possibly obtain it and maintain it. And that is why we are at this grand moment of triumph and victory and accelerated advancement that's expressed here. Like literally the transformation of creation into its divine expression. For those that are in alignment for it or in the market for it, of course, like I said, everybody has a choice, but many have made their choice. Many have made their expression of their alignment by way of their choices throughout the past season. And I believe that there's still yet time for a new proclamation or profession of alignment, just by, being in submission to refined choices with the grace that is yet available to do so. So I'm saying that it doesn't mean that the window is closed on anyone to reach that point of alignment. I'm almost certain that it isn't. And if anything, those that have already kind of drawn their line in the sand and are receiving the return on their proclamation or profession, they get to serve as the example pretty much of what that gets to look like. You know, the evidence, the sign, the wonder of the awe that I'm speaking of, the love frequency expressed in the flesh, to actually see what it looks like to live a life of love, you know, and the bliss that that affords. It seems fantastical to consider, especially when it's the means and methods of acquiring this experience have been contrary to what we've been conditioned to believe is possible, or what the standard is, or the minimum requirement. You know, we've been conditioned to believe that a synthetic expression of that is possible, more so through material gain, and that's the transformation that has taken place individually and collectively to realign with the source in its most organic form, and allow all the other things to be added unto that realization, but through the more intangible force of faith than the immediately gratifying results of function. You know, there's a better word I could use, through, I don't know, like through the activity of, you know, the activity of the expression, like the going through the motions of acquisition, and, you know, I don't know, I'm beating it down, but I think you get what I'm saying. Because I've been saying it for a while, but it must mean, because there's a relevance to it, to know that what you have pledged yourself to, if you can relate to this for sure, has not been in vain. It's been for a greater cause and with greater impact than you could have ever imagined, especially in the moment of your profession and proclamation of this faith-driven focus. It didn't really yield a return or an affirmation in that time frame, but now you're about to see truly, like, the success, the victory, like the as they say, to the victor go the spoils. Now is the time when you're about to really receive the spoils of your divine devotion. It's like I said, how that Queen of Cups was like the silent assassin, or the secret assassin. It's like, this is like the general coming home from battle, from war. And, you know, number one, he's still alive. So there's that, you know, that you've survived a very treacherous war, at least some stretch of it, you know, whatever there is to gear up for in the next leg of the journey, or the next cycle of life, may certainly be a different challenge, but it definitely won't look like what it did before. And it wasn't easy. So it's like the general, or even just the soldier, if you don't consider yourself so highly, you probably should, but general coming home from many years of war, and they're still alive, And not only are they alive, they have all the activity of their limbs, their body's all intact, their mind is intact. They look damn good, as a matter of fact. Bars. And what you think is going to happen, and not only that, they've won. You know, this is a victorious march and return home. So what do you think is going to happen when they get back to their kingdom, back to their territory, their homeland, they're inside of the sanctity of their walls? They're going to be spoiled. They're going to be decorated. They're going to be honored. They're going to be made comfortable. They're going to be showered with gratitude for keeping the kingdom safe, for fighting the fighting for the kingdom's agenda, for winning, you know what I mean, for being victorious, and for returning home in one piece, back on post, to protect the kingdom yet some more, and perhaps protect it as it advances yet another agenda or expands even more on account of its success. So there's a lot that's on the way to honor a humble intention such as this. Like he may already look, you know, a bit prestigious and proud, but the initiation of this this allegiance was a very humble, and humble doesn't feel strong enough. Like the initiation of this allegiance was a very maybe modest feels even more. Yeah, like it was a very modest maneuver. It wasn't something that was done for the purposes of getting to this decorated, you know, ceremony or point of spoils, because you may not even ever known there were any spoils. Hell, some didn't even know they would even survive, you know, the worst of the battles at times. So that's the modesty and the humility of it all, is that it was really for the sake of love, for the intention of love, for the pursuit of love, for the ambition and motivation and even the protection of love at a soul level and at the core, before it was for anything superficial, let alone material. There was never a promise or a guarantee to those that made the pledge of allegiance, so to speak. First of all, even an affirmation that you were doing the right thing, because as I said yesterday, you actually felt like maybe you weren't, but you did it anyway. And there was never any true well, I'll say there may have been a glimmer of hope and promise for there to be more beyond what you were experiencing, but there was never a guarantee. You would have had to affirm that guarantee for yourself before anything or anyone could have affirmed it. So that's what's blaring to me as modesty and humility, because it'd be different if the motivation was for the spoils or for the payoff or for the honor and the accolades and the exaltation and the prestige and the territory and the bragging rights and the spoils, the wealth, the payout, whatever. But for many, it was never none of that. It was never any of that in consideration. It was just pure-hearted allegiance to the divine. And at times you didn't even know it was, as I said earlier, that all it was love. You didn't even know that it was that simple of an expression. And yet somehow you were being, literally embodying that expression just on the sheer intention and will to do so, no matter what adversity you faced. And God damn it, that's powerful. That's powerful. And that's why the Queen of Cups is so unsuspecting, because for the rest of the world to see a frequency in action such as that, it almost looks weak. It looks simple-minded. It looks delusional, disempowered, foolish, perhaps even at times, naive. And that's where the true strength of a champion was pronounced, is in the way that you may not have minded, or at least you couldn't really surrender to what the rest of the world may have thought or perceived of you. It didn't matter more to you than it did what your supreme reflection was admitting. That's powerful. Something amazing is coming. It's going to be, the Chariot is already powerful, fast, furious, but then we got the Eight of Wands. This is like overnight success, or skyrocketed advancement, where you almost may have thought it was over for you in some ways, maybe just about a week ago or a month ago or last season. It was looking pretty grim for you. And then all of a sudden, this anointing, this baptism, this cleansing, this purification of your energy from the inside out, of which you may not have even truly, because I was just thinking today, like, I feel lighter. The only thing that still contains me is that feeling of almost, how sometimes it feels like something's missing. Like when you're used to being, say you got a bag that's usually much heavier than you're used to it being. Like when you pick it up, it's like, man, that's kind of light. Is something missing in here? Is my wallet in here? My phone? My keys? Like you start checking in there, like, this feels awfully light. That's how I feel energetically. Like, am I missing something? Yeah. Stress, worry, anxiety, fear, insecurity. A lot of things. Scarcity. There are a lot of things that have been purified from your force field that you can sense that something is lighter, but it's almost like you can't really put your finger on it. Like, I know something feels different. And then you really have to be mindful not to psych yourself into almost like looking for the heaviness, like, hold on, I know, almost like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I know it can't be this peaceful. It can't be this blissful. It can't be this calm. What's up? What's brewing? What's about to happen? And it's like, I really feel like for many that can relate to this is the new normal. And it's actually about to get even more weird if you think that that's weird, because now it's like, just as you may be getting comfortable with the peace and the lightheartedness of it all, and even a little bit of joy and a little, like um, what do you call it? Like uninterrupted joy, where you just really don't have any reason to worry. I don't even know how to say it. Like there's just no immediate cause for alarm at a time. If you think that that's strange, then watch what happens when it's not just a matter of stillness and being settled and secure and grounded, but now you're accelerating. You're suddenly moving in all the directions that you always wanted to, all at once, so it feels or seems, where opportunities are coming at you a mile a minute, propositions, proposals, adventures, collaborations. Now you have all the capital again at your fingertips to move on ideas that you've been building on, pardon me, for years if you want to. Like you literally have the green light to move full steam ahead and there is no resistance. If you think it's weird now, imagine moving through with like moving through life weightlessly, virtually, and successfully, all at the same time, without that sluggish running through water or running on sand feeling where you always feel like the wind is against you. Imagine now just having the wind in your favor. You ain't gonna know how to act. Yes, you will. You're gonna know. But if you can relate to anything that I'm saying or feel like I feel about this like almost eerie calm, it's like you really should start preparing yourself to be astounded, to truly be in awe. And we got the Knight of Swords here. This is the energy moving fast and furious against transformation. And another Knight, Knight of Wands. But this is these are the energies that I'll say this, in the highest frequency, this could have been the soldiers here. This could have been, highest frequency, the energy of the soldiers, i.e. maybe even you in your modest form, moving against the adversity or advancing against the enemy. It could be that. Tactically with the Knight of Swords here, with unwavering ambition, like an unstoppable force here, like almost overly ambitious for the win here, but still tactical at the same time. So I would say it feels more like that in a higher frequency based on the story, but it certainly can also be the energies that are still, insistent to regress to the past, against the forward march of creation overall. And this is the alignment, that they are pretty much, what's the word that I used? What did I say when you, it was a word that I used, a modest allegiance. Yeah, that they're pledging allegiance to. Because if it's not this, it has no life in this realm anymore. That's just what it is. So, you know, to move against transformation in its most justified expression and its most organic ordinance is transition. And I mean that, in a definite sense. Even a transition in spirit where you just miss out again on the spoils of, the victor's seat, because you just refuse to fight the good fight to get to this pure source. And it's challenging, but in this day and age, it's harder to fight against it than it actually is to fight for it and fight to it. You'd actually be hurting yourself more to go against the flow. So I like it more as the expression of soldiers on the battlefield that, fought their way through the resistance and through, death itself in the most final form of it all, to allow themselves to be transformed and transitioned to this moment of regeneration here. Somebody had to be on the front lines, and everybody ain't built for it, that's for sure. Ooh, world card. Look at that. Dang, what'd I say? This is the turn of a new age, a new life. Of what is that? Like it's like, I guess, just ascended. It's something about this Ace of Cups with the world. And I spoke already on, this purification and cleansing that has happened and has happened and is happening individually and collectively. But this feels like, just as much as it is the close of the old, maybe the grit and the grime of what we were used to, I guess it's the regeneration of a new reality. No, a regeneration of righteous consciousness. That's what it is. Because what I was speaking on when I was talking about that is about being realigned with your identity in the divine, of the divine, and that expression in humanity, or that expression in your physical being. So what did I say? Damn, I lost it that fast. Righteous. Shoot, what the heck did I just say? I lost it that fast, but I'll hear it again. And look, yeah, wish fulfillment. Like, again, high self-esteem in a spiritual sense, knowing how amazing you are because you've been affirmed from the highest frequency. Nothing can compete with this energy when it's pure. This is knowing your worth and value, and it not being measured by material. It's measured from what's on the inside. Who you are, what you stand for, how you move, how you work, your standards, your ethics, your values, and of course your expression of all those things. But it's irrefutable and it's indestructible when it's pure. And imagine humanity operating in this frequency exclusively. Again, as I was saying, like, after you get past the freaky feeling of fearlessness, literally having nothing to fear in a moment, nothing to worry about, no over considerations, everything you need and desire and want, you good. Once you get through that, imagine, and that old world energy is fully purged, which by God I live for the day, where you don't even feel the need to revisit it or check in on it or see if it's still there or not. You know what I mean? It's like, how sometimes, this is when I don't know if you've ever been like this, but like, say you had like a tough breakup, or there was like a very sensitive, a sore spot about something that you experienced, and once upon a time there's no way you couldn't notice how it felt or how it made you feel, how it permeated your senses, maybe even your day, your mood, your thoughts. And then one day you realize that that's just not the forefront of your feelings anymore. It's like, let's say primitively, a breakup. You realize that you're not waking up feeling sad, or you're not thinking about this person throughout the day, and things that usually would remind you of them kind of like go over your head, or they just don't have the same effect. And you're certainly not pining over them at night. But there comes a time when that is true, and you didn't even realize that shift occurred. It's something like, it's something that happens almost so subtly that you weren't even kind of put on notice. You know what I mean? It's like suddenly one day, it's not like you realize, oh, I didn't think about such and such today. It's actually realizing that you didn't even think about the fact that you didn't think about them, and that you actually don't think about them anymore. Like they're not even they don't even brush your mind, or it's like it doesn't have the same sensation, and you almost like tap into that feeling like, do I even still feel connected to that pain, or to that disconnection, or whatever it was, like whatever the feeling was. Sometimes you like tap back in to see if it still has any effect or any trigger. And there's nothing more liberating when you realize that it really doesn't. Like, like when you're intentionally looking for it, searching for, like, is it there? Am I cool? And it's like, no, like, I'm good. I'm so good, So imagine all of creation getting to that space and time where the traumas, the toxicities, the disfavor, the misfortune, the bad memories, the unfortunate events, all the things, the densities that we were used to just kind of carrying on our back relentlessly, restlessly, that almost just became a part of our natural waking lives and sleeping lives, like you wake up with it, you go to sleep with it, and suddenly it's just not even there anymore. It's nowhere to be found. And the only thing that's left is fulfillment. Imagine creation living on that frequency and in that frequency, at least enough of creation for it to matter to you, or at least you within creation, and it be enough for it to matter to creation, however way it goes, chicken or the egg. But at least imagining that being a reality for yourself where, like I said, you're not checking in on, is there anything to worry about? You just effortlessly, easily live a life carefree, in fulfillment. Whatever it is you want to do, you do it. Where you want to go, you go. With discernment, of course, and wisdom always. But generally speaking, it's limitless. There is no restriction. There is no intrusion or obstruction to just the natural flow of life that you are privileged to and privy to. Imagine. Well, that's what it is. That's what it is. I feel like the only thing that's left in the way is really just our mindset. Even this might even be that with the Knight of Swords, of tapping back into what in some strange ways still kind of feels comforting to consider, to almost pinch yourself and see if you're still human, because it feels like foreign not to still feel those densities that you used to. But the regenerative expression of righteousness, however I said that, a regeneration of righteousness or righteous reality or something like that I said, is in fact the standard. That's what it is. That's what all are privy to if they choose to accept it. But for those that have already made their choice, that's what you're coming home to. Those are the spoils of the victor. And by coming home, oh my God. 6 of Wands. And I'm going to stop here. I know I didn't get very far in cards, but I don't want to go too much longer. To the victor go the spoils. Goes the spoils. So, shoot, just call me Victor. Hi, my name is Victor. Oh, and you are? Oh, nice to meet you, Victor. Oh my God. Pleasure is all mine. Indeed. Indeed. Emphasis on what I just said. Jokingly, but very seriously. The pleasure being all yours. Life being a pleasure. Not a chore. Not a battle. Not a struggle. But literally a pleasure. To reestablish the audacity of that expectation. The covenant that was broken. Imagine between, theoretically between God and the first man and woman to inhabit the Garden of Eden. That covenant was broken, but it was established indefinitely at one point in time. And just as then as now, it was broken by humanity. And just as easily and quickly as it could have been broken is, I mean, it ain't been easy and it ain't been quick, but certainly there's the potentiality for it to be reestablished. And I think that's what's happening. And it may not be the idealized depiction of Eden as we read about, or as we're told and taught. It may or may not even be something that stretches across the globe or the world at first. It may just be a personal experience, but by God, that's good enough for me to incubate that experience of life. Again, is what I was talking about yesterday, the space holding influence on the rest of creation to follow suit. Because if you can live in your own personal heaven on earth, then that means anybody can. And then that means we all can. And perhaps we all will, until it becomes one collective experience of love above all. That's it. That's all. All right. Well, let's see what we got here. Wow, the 9 of... What? Let it go. Yeah, let it go, because this is nothing but projection. And as I said earlier, those energies that still want to find a place to belong, those thoughts, those frequencies that are realizing that their time is really winding up, that they're finding less and less comfort in your reality anymore. Like I said, the worries themselves, sleepless nights, restless mornings, thinking of what could go wrong next, or what enemy is against you, who's pitted against you, who's opposing, what opposing force do you have to protect yourself from or guard, just what unfortunate circumstance do you have to prepare for. And it's like, what if it's nothing? Because the 9 of Swords is something that hasn't even happened yet, that you could be crystallizing as a reality just on account of the projection of your own mind and your agreement with those ideas. So if you can do that in the most adverse energy, then why not do it in the highest frequency possible? What could hurt? What could be the harm? The only thing that holds us back from that is, again, that fear of being disappointed, to have your hopes be so high and so grand, and then, have them squashed by something unfavorable or contrary, or contemptuous or something like that. But if we can release, part of the conditioning was for us to create that experience for ourselves before anybody else even needed to, for us to kind of pull the other shoe down on ourselves by our own thoughts and fears before any shoe could ever really drop. So if we're being given the liberty, the privilege to live in the bliss of our peace, our own personal peace, then if there's anything to champion for, like the tireless warrior you've already proven yourself to be, is to stay within that flow. Just live there. You ain't really got to peek your head out for much of nothing. Don't do what I said, like how I said I, used to tap into an emotion like, am I still insecure about that? Am I still fearful? Am I still sad? Do I still have, just let all of that pass and be released and purged and purified in the cycle that we've left behind. It's time to look forward to new life now. And for some, that is really a hard reality to stabilize. But with time, I think you'll get used to it. I think you will get used to it. Just more allowance of the peace and comfort of life to really take over may actually create more and more of a distant memory of those contrary energies, those adverse energies, to the point where one day you wake up and you won't even realize that you didn't realize that you don't feel the way you used to feel. It won't even be a consideration. Yep, looking forward to that. It's already materializing for me. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's almost becoming too normal to the point where I'm still kind of teetering the line of like, definitely not looking for things to worry about, but definitely I'm more in that space of like, like I'm not worried about anything. I'm not stressed. Not that I'm a super stressed out person, because generally I'm not, but even the things that would be cause for consideration, I'm realizing that I'm not engaging those things the way that I would, or not even having to proactively transmute the energy. It exists as it exists, but it doesn't affect or impact my reservoir of peace, you know what I mean, at this time. It just doesn't. And that's the part that feels strange. So I can only imagine for it to not be a consideration whatsoever. And life is just, on autopilot ease. That seems like literally a fantasy that I'm certainly in alignment to continue to visualize, because I receive it. I claim it, and I accept the privilege of the grace of the divine to afford it to me. I accept that covenant, indeed. Commit to it 100%. But all right, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.